You were very well known for your touring. You're a very hard-working band in terms of playing here, there, and ever, especially across the UK. And then you mentioned it there. You had a little-known song called "All Right Now," and now we love to hear the stories behind these big songs and these big hits and everything. Now this came on the back of a disappointing gig, shall we say, up north, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And there's still, I still, I'm not in agreement with Paul Rodgers where it was. I say it was Durham. He says it was Manchester. So it's up there, up north, and we played to a university crowd. Now, university crowds, they're a very discerning bunch, and we had this kind of medium-paced loping beat that was kind of. On a lot of our songs. We'd never had a real sort of rabble-rousing type song. So at the end of this gig, we played our, 60-minute set or whatever. And by the time we hadn't even left the stage and the clapping had died down. And to cap it all, we had to walk through the audience to get to our dressing room. It was one of those. It wasn't like at the back of the stage where you could do a quick exit.
You had to face
so by the time we walked, through the crowd back to the dressing room, we were like, oh, geez. And I believe Paul Rodgers said, we need a song that people can dance to. Plain and simple. That's all it was. And All Right Now was born in that little dressing room at the back of the gig. And I believe it was Andy who came up with the actual phrase. It's all right now, baby. He started bopping around the dressing room, trying to coax it out of himself. And he came up with the phrase. And Andy and Paul, they worked on it for the next couple of weeks. And we started doing it at sound checks. And we did it at several shows. It started going down really well because it had that and everyone was it just changed the whole atmosphere of the gig. And then we came to record it on the Fire and Water sessions, and it was instant,
You talk about instant there, but it wasn't like you recorded it in one take, did you? It took a few takes to get exactly how you wanted it.
Well, I for the drummers out there, I was playing what we call eights on the hi-hat, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3. That's how I originally played the drums, and it was it didn't really seem to swing. So I changed the drum to the right hand, to the bam, what we call fours on the hi-hat, and changed the whole atmosphere of the beat, and hence the song. And it really swung along. And that's what allowed me to do take after take after take. I believe, Paul, we did about 20 takes with false starts and mistakes, and we start again. And I think we ended up using take number 5 or 6, which went all the way through. It was, and that's the measure of a good song, that you could play it again and again and again and not get tired of it.
And what were your reactions then when you got to hear it back and you got it down and you're happy?
Fucking great. We were knocked out. And in fact, we did this in Basing Street, which is up in the West 11 in London, where Island Records had their studio.
Yeah. And
it was pretty late at night. And, we finished it. And Chris Blackwell, who was the boss of Island Records, had an apartment above the studio. And I believe Paul Rodgers said, we got to get him out of bed to listen to this. And he said, yeah, come on, let's get him out of it. So the engineer, what are you crazy? He said, no, he's got to hear it. So we actually called him up, and, he came down to the studio, and we said, you got to hear this. And he said, all right. So we pressed play, and I'll never forget, he's at the end of it, because it was kind of long. It was like the original.
Yes.
It was about 5.5 minutes long. And he said, it's a hit. Wow, yes. He said, but it's too long. It's got to be on Top of the Pops. I mean, that was the golden key in those days. If you're on Top of the Pops, you're guaranteed at least a top 10. He said, we have to do an edit. Now, we never really heard of edits back in those days. We never had an occasion to edit a song. We just played it and that was it. So he said, I need you to go, I'll do the edit with the engineer, where you actually, not like with Pro Tools now, where you can click and paste, and you have to get a razor blade and cut a piece of, intestine out of the song. And they had to find this piece that we could cut out. And the edit actually wasn't very good. You can hear it, most people now, but it brought it down to about 3 minutes and 10 seconds, which was just perfect. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Absolutely. You mentioned Top of the Pops there. It was obviously a huge British institution for many years, but it was so close to not being on BBC at all, was it? Because of one line.
One line, raise the parking rate. That was Paul. And Paul, I guess, in his passion to sing it, the P became an F. They thought they were saying fucking, and Island Records got a call from the BBC saying, look, we think there's a profane word, in that line, and we need to come down. We need to send a representative down from the BBC to listen to the isolated vocal track. And he did. I mean, we had to, get back in the studio, and we all wanted to be there. And he was a little old guy, he had a clipboard and all that. And they played the isolated track. And sure enough, it was like, raise the parking, but the P was a little like an F. So he's like, fucking rate. But the guy was quite nice about it. He said, that's all right. And he gave it a little tick. And, he went back and said, it's okay. There's no profanity. They can play the song. And it got to number 2, thanks to Mungo Jerry. Yeah, it got to number 2. Killed us.
Mungo Jerry.
What the hell? It was, people still play it to this day. It's played all over the world. And I still love playing it. I love playing the song. It's a great song.
That's good to hear.